Madrid. For years, people considered him a right-wing extremist for wearing the Spanish flag on a bracelet, explained Angel Munoz, a 62-year-old chauffeur, standing in central Madrid. But not anymore, he said, pointing out dozens of Spanish flags outside the apartments around him. Most of them have appeared in recent weeks. Now with this thing happening in Catalonia, perhaps they feel a bit prouder to show the flag, Mr. Munoz said, referring to the northeastern region's push for a separate state. That is what the Catalans have achieved with this referendum, he added. Somehow now the rest of Spain feels more united. Nationalism has always been a tricky thing for Spain. The dictator, General Francisco Franco, died in 1975. Only 3 years afterward did the country embrace a democratic constitution. But nationalism is still associated with Franco, who unified the country after a bloody civil war that was one of the defining ideological conflicts in 20th century Europe. Today, as Europe approaches the third decade of a new millennium, nationalism is back, for better or worse, with its warm cloak of identity as well as its concomitant dangers. Whether this wave of nationalism will awaken old demons in Spain is an open question, and one that has suddenly become more urgent with Catalonia's push for independence. Equally dangerous, in the eyes of many Spaniards, is Catalonia's threat to tear apart a country that is a composite of regional identities and languages, including Basque and Galician as well as Catalan, a reality the government and the country have never truly found a comfortable way to digest. In America people are proud to be patriots, whereas in Spain if you say that you're proud of your country, they say you're fascist, said Carlota Caro, a 24-year-old lawyer, who supported the Spanish police crackdown on the Catalan referendum. But now people have a reason to go out into the streets to proudly show their flag. Indeed, the Spanish flag has become more visible in Madrid and other cities, as people have responded to the conservative government's call to stop Catalan separatism in its tracks, with their own displays of flag waving. It's finally a symbol for everyone, said Lucrecia Fernandez, a 50-year-old business administrator, who hung 11 Spanish flags from her apartment 3 days before the referendum on Sunday. But the clashes between Catalans and the Spanish National Police have lent the nationalist resurgence, on both sides, a suddenly volatile dimension. Before the referendum, Catalans watched online videos of Spanish police officers leaving for Catalonia to enforce Madrid's order to close polling stations, encouraged by residents shouting "Go for them!" After the vote, Spanish television broadcast images of some of the same police officers, their hotels surrounded by crowds shouting abuse and calling for them to leave. Nationalist movements need to feed off each other, said Joan B. Culla, a Catalan historian. It's both unfortunate and normal that the escalation of Catalan nationalism, particularly in recent days, will fuel a Spanish nationalism that already existed, even if it seemed too many to have been kept underground. That latent nationalism has also begun to resurface outside Spain. One of the ideas behind a European Union, in addition to economics, was always to absorb and dilute the nationalist impulses that had fueled the cataclysmic destruction of the continent and 2 world wars. Increasingly, that rationale is being challenged by right-wing, populist and nationalist movements across Europe. Britain voted last year to leave the bloc. In France, the far-right Front National entered the final round of the presidential election this year. A far-right party even gained enough votes in September to join parliament in Germany, a country that, like Spain, has long treated nationalism warily because of its fascist history. In Spain, the Catalan crisis has emboldened, in isolated pockets, some neo-fascist groups, which have seen cause to protest publicly in Catalonia and elsewhere, even as they remain an unwelcome fringe. Yet the displays of Spanish nationalism should not necessarily be taken as increased support for the far right, said Sebastián Balfour, a specialist in Spanish nationalism, and an emeritus professor at the London School of Economics. He and others pointed out that Spain, unusual among European countries, has no far-right party. Instead, Professor Balfour said, the governing Conservative Popular Party has managed to retain the support of most parts of the right-wing spectrum. In Germany, by contrast, the Alternative for Germany emerged on far-right flank after Chancellor Angela Merkel moved her Conservative Party to the center. In Spain, We're not seeing a populist right in the way that we've seen elsewhere, Professor Balfour said. And that's quite exceptional in a European context. But in a country that has seen two new parties, Podemos and Ciudadanos,